Hello, welcome to 2016. Welcome to Pen Talk. This is my first video of the new year. It's been a few weeks. Been just preoccupied and certainly haven't spent time away from pens, but the good thing to me about videos is getting motivation, getting an idea, getting a theme, and putting it together. What you see here is a package I received a couple days ago. I always am very active and looking at opportunities on eBay, and this is a pen that I purchased from a Japanese pen seller that I bought other pens from, and I've gotten very good deals, very fast delivery, and been very satisfied with the pen that I received. One thing I know is interesting is if you look at the value of $57, which is the actual price that the auction closed at. So this is going to be a video mainly basically focusing on nibs, and this is the pen that was in the box. I have a similar pen to this, well, the exact pen to this, the Platinum Century. This one is how it came in with the little tag on it, which you would normally see if this was in a display case and stationary in Japan. And what makes this pen interesting to me is the nib. And let's see if we can focus in on that. This is a UEF, or ultra extra fine. I think fine nibs have their place. Certainly, if I had to only choose one nib, it would not be a fine or extra fine, or probably even a medium, but, you know, at times this is really what you need. And hopefully we can bring out the nice grinding that they did to make this an ultra extra fine. I think the Platinum nibs are excellent nibs. I think you need to understand how they write and how they work, and to see if there's something that you would want to explore. So we're going to take a look at writing of some of my extra fine nibs and compare them to some of the other Platinum Century nibs that I have. I'm not going to take a look at the pen. If you want to take a look at the pen, I've done a more thorough review of this pen, which is very lovely, very well made. And after many months of use, the slip and seal mechanism, I can attest from personal experience, works perfectly. When I take the pen out, uncap it, it writes immediately, flow is always consistent. So they've done an excellent job, and considering it was $57 with $12 of shipping, to get a pen of this quality with this type of nib is an excellent deal. So 6 pens that I want to compare. Take a look at their nibs. They're both of the fine, extra fine, or ultra extra fine designations, and we have Platinum representing Japanese style nibs, 2 vintage Esterbrooks representing some early American steel nibs, and an extra fine fusion nib on the Dolce Vita Oro. So let's take a look at the Platinums first. And I think, you know, I began to appreciate these pens the more I use them and the more I write with them. They're all very well made, consistently good quality, and the nibs certainly illustrate an attention to detail, and also a really good grind on them. As you can, the designations are fairly visible. I just have to make certain I can read them. So you have the ultra extra fine on the far right, the extra fine, and the soft fine. So on the surface they look pretty similar. If we turn them around, they all have the same type of feed. What I find interesting is the white insert that's used on the Bourgogne, and the black insert that's used on the Chartreuse. Hopefully in this sunlight, and we can keep the camera focused, you can see the grinds. One of the hard things to do is to do this live on the video. So the extra fine, the ultra extra fine and the extra fine definitely have some different grinds to them, and the soft fine has a different grind, but to me it's quite visible. You can see that the ultra extra fine is definitely ground to a needle type point. The extra fine is not quite. There's a little bit of tipping material evident there. And the soft fine is also a very similar type of look. So we'll take a look at the other nibs just to put them in perspective. And I'll keep the ultra extra fine available as our point of reference. I have been collecting Estes, and I've been very, very pleased with them. So I just found these two nibs, I think, to represent their fine categories. So we have a 155 Greg, and then we have a 2550, which is called extra fine medium. As you can see, these are inked with Noodler's Bulletproof Black, which is what I'm going to use for the writing samples. And these are fairly fine nibs. If you turn them over, you can take a look at the back side. The 2550 appears to be kind of almost similar to the same type of needle type of point that we saw on the Platinums. And the 155 Greg has a little bit of a rollover on it. Now, this is in a completely different price range, but this is my Dolce Vita N Fusion nib in extra fine. I've used this pen for a while, and this nib has of all the Delta qualities that they've shown in their nibs that I have 8 of them now. They're all great, writes all the first time, very consistent writer. So we'll take a look at how that compares to the writing of the other ones. And just for comparisons, let's take a look at the Ultra Extra Fine in comparison to the Estes, and we'll see how that grind is done. And we'll flip them over. Obviously, this is a good indication of how a gold nib appeals to a lot of people. It certainly does look pretty, but Esterbrook's were known for their functionality, not necessarily into aesthetics. Welcome back to the writing part of the video. We're going to start with the Platinum Ultra Extra Fine. As you can hear, it does give you a decent amount of feedback, but I would definitely say this is ultra extra fine. The feedback and the feel of the paper is not, it doesn't bother me. With a nib this fine, it's really difficult to get it to glide. I mean, this writes with very little pressure. And, if you need to do some very fine writing, which I think is perfect design for this type of nib, as you can see, it works very well. I mean, that's pretty fine writing. As we try to get the camera to focus on the, I have it on a tripod, and that's how it works. So basically, I would say this nib meets all my expectations as to what I was expecting from an ultra extra fine nib. It is actually a little soft. As you can see, you can squeeze out a line variation, but I don't think that's what this nib was designed for. But I'm very happy. So let's compare that with just the Pilot Extra Fine. Or sorry, the Platinum. Keep my Japanese pen manufacturers separately. So this is the, and hold on, I need to put some ink in it. Well, we're back. It took longer than I expected. I don't have a platinum converter for all of my Platinums. The auction did not include a converter. I probably could have had one thrown in for a couple bucks, but I didn't think about ordering it. So I'm sharing converters. I have ordered some more from Amazon. They'll be here in a few days. So this is the Sorry for that extra I. So right off the bat, as you can see, it's a darker line. This nib is significantly smoother. I think you can hear that from the sound of the nib on paper. You don't have as much sound. So overall, in comparison, it is a much broader line. I think the Ultra Extra Fine is, as I mentioned to you, an excellent example of that type of nib. And as this one, as you can see, and we'll do a little bit close-up, I can't get as fine a character as I could get with the Ultra Extra Fine. And also the tripod is giving me a pain in the butt. You know, so if you could live with an extra fine, this nib would certainly fit that bill. I think it would be a more enjoyable writing experience, unless you do need that really super small line that comes with the Ultra Extra Fine. And as I noticed before, the nib you can squeeze out a little bit more than you can on the Ultra Extra Fine. So it's really an excellent example of going from one grind to another and just moving up one level. What that provides you from a writing experience. This pen I could definitely use on a daily basis, where the Ultra Extra Fine I think would eventually become a challenge, and I like the darker line that you get with this nib. So now, keeping in the Platinum family, we're going to look at the Soft Fine. And I apologize, this is not bulletproof black, but this is the ink that I've had in this pen since I got it. So I didn't want to change it. I like this color. I think it goes well with the pen. This is even smoother than the Extra Fine, which is what you would expect. It is about the same thickness of line. I don't find a significant difference between the lines. So between Ultra Extra Fine and Extra Fine, there is a noticeable difference, but between Extra Fine and Fine, at least the Soft Fine, there's not as much of a difference. And you can squeeze out slightly more line variation. In my initial review of these two pens, I was disappointed that the Soft Fine was not softer and didn't distinguish itself as much from the Extra Fine as I expected. You can still write some very fine characters with this nib. I mean, they're pretty small. Put a thumb next to it for comparison. You know, as you compare them to the Extra Fine, you know, you don't notice that much of a difference. And as I try to get you the Ultra Fine, then there we go. So that's a Japanese look at a number of their very fine nibs. They're known historically for grinding a really fine nib, apparently useful for some of their particular writing styles. Now we're going to look at something completely different. So this is an Esterbrook. And this is a 1555 Greg nib. So I have to make a confession. I have done some smoothing on this nib. I've had other 155 Gregs that I've written with, and right out of the box, if that could be an expression, I can't use them. They're very sharp. They dig into the paper, but just a slight little smoothing on some very fine paper. Like I got some boards from Indie Pen Dance, and they work great. And I think, as you can see, this is a darker line than the Extra Fine, which is what you would expect with this nib. This nib is as smooth as you're going to get in a nib of this fine nature. This is also a pen I could use on a daily basis. You're not going to have any line variation from this. This is a stiff steel nib. But a very enjoyable writing experience. I've been able to get all of my Estes to write fairly well. I have a 9128, kind of like the Grail Flexi nib. I was not as impressed with it as I expected to be, but we'll take it to the Philly Pen Show and see if I could get some expert advice from Brian Anderson or some of the other people there that may be familiar with Este. So this is an Esterbrook, and my writing is getting worse and worse as the day goes on. 9550. No, it's not a 9550. It's a 2550. And in the description, this is an extra fine for medium writing, which is a strange combination of terms. So this nib is also very, very smooth, and it actually lays down a slightly thinner line than the 155 Greg. It's a bigger nib, doesn't really change the writing enhancement. It feels nicer on the paper than the 155 does. So, and I found the 2000 series to be the nibs that I like the best. The 9000 series, even though they're considered the premium nibs, I don't find them to write as nice as the 2000 series. And the 1000 series are hit and miss for me, depending upon the style of nib. So for something completely different, to finish up this review, we're going to look at the Delta Extra Fine Fusion nib. And as you can hear, this is extremely smooth nib. This is an excellent writer. No line variation. It's a stiff nib, but I've used this fairly a lot, and I've been very, very happy with it. And the line is, you know, as fine as the Esterbrook, a little bit finer than a 155, and thicker than the fines of the Japanese variety. So that's kind of the overview. Hopefully this little writing experience has been of interest. I think there is, from the comments and the views I've gotten on the original Platinum Century video, I think this is a pen a lot of people are interested in. I'll throw up some places that you can purchase it relatively inexpensively. Amazon is now having a lot of Japanese pens. And I think it, you know, some of them have free shipping, but unlike this one, which came EMS express post from Japan, which generally takes less than a week and sometimes like 3 or 4 days, you'll probably take a week or two. But you know, you save a few dollars and you end up with an excellent writing experience. So we're going to flip over. This is the Clairefontaine 90-gram paper that I like, and I like this pad because I can write on both sides. So thank you for viewing. This is the end of this video, the first one of 2016. So may all your writing experiences be pleasurable, and may you have many. Ciao.